How is it going, everyone? Want to cover some major news that definitely has PlayStation fans excited. Now, this is a two-part news story, and this has been a rumor that's been going on for a long time, but the idea of a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake has people incredibly excited. I think that's one of those games that if Bluepoint Games, for example, remakes Metal Gear Solid 1, that makes all the sense in the world from a marketability standpoint, from the standpoint that that's a remake of a game that probably needs a remake and could use a remake. I mean, Metal Gear Solid 1 is still revered as one of the best games of all time, but if you go back and play it in 2023, I don't know. I think it's going to be a little bit hard to get into, especially when you're talking about people that haven't gotten into Metal Gear Solid, and if they want to get into the franchise, mind you, a very narrative-driven franchise, Metal Gear Solid 1 is probably where a lot of people want to start. And also, not that easy to be accessed outside of things like emulation and whatnot. We don't have that game readily available on PlayStation 5 or 4. And even if we did, that's a game that, again, I think people would want a full-on remake for. I mean, if we're going the route of remaking a game like Demon's Souls, which, by the way, Bluepoint did a tremendous job with, and Demon's Souls was a game, even though it's from the PS3 era, needed a remake. It could have used a remake. I'm not going to say needed one, but also, again, Demon's Souls was a game that wasn't being preserved on consoles. We got a remake. It was all great and dandy. It was a great PS5 launch title. And there is a new rumor circulating around, I'll leave a link in the description box below, that there could be a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake being revealed between February and March. Now, Bluepoint Games themselves had teased that they were working on a new game back in December. They published a holiday card and it was showcasing some of the remakes they worked on, and then also there was a mystery president. Essentially, that was assumed to be what they were working on in the game we don't know about. On top of that, the snitch, who is very, very reputable, is now noting that a reliable source has DM'd me on Twitter to say that PlayStation is about to announce some third-party stuff very soon. Metal Gear Solid 1, a remake of that, would obviously be in the form of some sort of third-party partnership with Konami because they do own the IP. Now, Bluepoint Games is now under the Sony umbrella, but you would have to work out a deal to get Metal Gear Solid 1 actually to be remade. But it seems like Sony's pretty good in handling these types of relationships with Japanese publishers. I mean, they've been working hand-in-hand with Square Enix quite a bit in securing deals, and look, let's put pettiness aside. I don't know if Konami internally just hates Metal Gear or something. Put pettiness aside. There's a lot of money to be made with Metal Gear Solid. Why this is an IP that is just allowed to remain dormant for so long? Maybe it hasn't been dormant. Maybe they've been working on this remake for a while, but if it is in fact a Bluepoint title, Bluepoint was busy with Demon's Souls for a while, but Demon's Souls at this point came out, you know, two and a half years ago, almost 2.5 years ago by the announcement of this game. Let's say it gets announced in March. It would be about 2.5 years. They could have been putting in a lot of work on the Metal Gear Solid 1 remake. And again, this is a franchise that's just a license to print money. Even with Metal Gear Solid 5, people had mixed opinions on that. First of all, I thought that game was really good. I know some people thought the narrative wasn't as strong, and sure, it didn't have a super lengthy cutscenes, but I thought it did a pretty good job telling the story through those cassette tapes and whatnot. I found it pretty interesting, and I found it a great game from a gameplay standpoint as well. Cut content aside, drama aside, if you go back and play this game, play that game now, still a great game. And Metal Gear is a franchise that, sure, if you don't want to do new titles like an MGS6 or whatever, Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, you could do Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, Peace Walker. Like, we are in an era where remakes are obviously something that people want to play, and I'm not saying remake every game under the sun, especially if it's like a PS4 game. Like, when you hear about stuff like the Horizon Zero Dawn remake remaster, I'm like, bruh, chill out with that. But Metal Gear Solid, PS2 era titles, even early PlayStation 3 era games, those are games that absolutely remake them. People are going to buy them, and you already have the infrastructure and the idea of the game already in place. Now, obviously, for an MGS1 remake, you're talking about a PS1 game, it'd be completely redone from a gameplay standpoint and whatnot, but this is a game that would be a true system seller for the PlayStation 5, and Not to say they really need that because, well, PS5's, the shortages is kind of over. I mean, it's still a pretty hot console that people are gonna buy regardless, but you got the idea. You want compelling exclusives and you want compelling titles that people are gonna get super invested into. I don't think the Metal Gear Solid 1 remake would be a 2023 title, unfortunately. I think the 2023 slate is kind of what it is. You have PlayStation VR 2, you have Horizon Burning Shore, you have Spider-Man 2, and you have Final Fantasy 16, and I think with those titles, that rounds out a pretty solid lineup. Maybe we'll get one other title to round out the 2023 lineup as far as exclusives go, but the Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, I don't foresee that being it. But I do want to see Sony kind of hold off on announcing big exclusives and whatnot. Like, I thought they did a good job with the Demon's Souls remake, and, you know, Miles Morales, I get that they were all kind of enveloped in the PlayStation 5 launch, but you got the announcement of those games and then they released them right at launch. Like, I'm not a big fan of, let's say we reveal the Metal Gear Solid 1 remake and then we're waiting like 3-4 years for it, and they did that with Wolverine, and I'm just not about that anymore. And I liked what Neil Druckmann said about The Last of Us moving forward and their projects moving forward in general, that they announced Last of Us 2 and Uncharted 4 a little bit ahead of time, and that causes kind of a work-life balance issue when it comes to the development studio itself, because you have this pressure, this inherent pressure that I don't know who's placing on them, whether it be the publisher. Sony wants to get the word out about the game. I imagine it's a Sony side of things where they want to get the word out about the game, but if it's a Naughty Dog side of things or the development studio side of things, just lay back, work on the game, when it's ready, reveal it, and then you won't have people hounding you for a while. Let these rumors circulate. If it's true, great. People are gonna get excited no matter what, even if the cat was let out of the bag a little bit early and this rumor is in fact true. If it's not true, well, ultimately, Bluepoint is gonna reveal some game. If it ends up being the 0.0001% chance that they're doing the Legend of Dragoon remake that I've been wanting for so long, hey, great, people will probably get excited for that. But nonetheless, I just think it's better to lay back for a little while and not reveal every game that you have, especially when we're talking about games so far away. Like, now we're hearing about stuff like Black Myth Wukong coming in summer 2024. Fingers crossed that actually happens. But yeah, I think if we do get a February, March reveal, we're looking at sometime early 2024, mid 2024 for this game to actually be revealed. And that kind of a turnaround isn't crazy. What I'm talking about is the 3, 4, 5, 6 year turnarounds for a game being revealed and then it ultimately releasing. I kind of like just let it slide with Square Enix, and I feel like they got the turnaround on the FF7 remake done pretty decently. But yeah, MGS1, again, one of the most iconic games of all time, and while it is still revered to this day, it's absolutely one of those games that could use a full-on remake. If they want to expand it, great. It seems like they're doing that a little bit with these remakes, as that is the case with the Dead Space remake as well, that it's staying true to the original, but you are expanding it a little bit more to fit with the overarching narrative as well. So let me know what you guys think as far as the Metal Gear Solid 1 remake. Is this a remake day one purchase for you? I imagine it is, and the great thing about this remake, it would actually be an avenue for a lot more people to get into Metal Gear as well. I could easily see back in, what was it, 2015 when MGS5 came out, people looked at that game and were like, yeah, it's Metal Gear Solid 5. It looks great, it has a lot of buzz, but it's a 5th game in the series, not really accessible to play the other games. Do I really want to jump into MGS5? Which you could have, but nonetheless, I could definitely see people being pushed away from that. Nonetheless, sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Fingers crossed this remake comes to fruition, and if nothing else, looks like we will be getting some PlayStation third-party reveals here very shortly. I imagine that PlayStation and Sony still want to secure some third-party deals and maybe even acquisitions. I don't know if that's a little bit of a stretch at this point. I don't know if Sony's in the position to make a big moves and big acquisitions like that, but we'll see how that turns out. That's gonna do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.